Information Literacy and Inquiry-Based Learning. This presentation will include introduction, what information literacy is, why information literacy needs in academic setting, the approaches to learning, relationship of information literacy and inquiry-based learning, and finally, information literacy standards. Today's people are consuming and creating information through social networks, 2.0 technology and self-making videos. These information landscapes have significant effects on people, and so information literacy becomes a necessity to locate, evaluate and create information. In this information age, one of the important goals of education should be to develop information literacy skills. These skills enable students for further learning, equip them the necessary competencies to become lifelong learners and active members of society. Nowadays, while information is widely available, the question raises about authenticity, validity and reliability. So instead of encouraging students to see their projects and assignments as a collection of information, students need to form their own perspectives and create new insights. So, what is information literacy? Information includes a message received and understood, a collection of facts, and finally, knowledge acquired through study or experience. According to Jones Cavalier and Flanagan, literacy includes the ability to read and interpret text, sound and images, to reproduce data and images through digital manipulation, and to evaluate and apply new knowledge gained from digital environment. In addition, Hepworth and Walton define information literacy as a complex set of abilities, which enable individuals to engage critically and make sense of world and its knowledge, to participate effectively in learning, and to make use of and to contribute to the information landscape. There are other types of literacies related to information literacy. They are e-literacy and oral literacy, digital literacy and media literacy, numeric literacy, text literacy, visual literacy and academic literacies. E-literacy is concerned with the ability of accessing, using, managing and creating information in an electronic environment. Oral literacy is concerned with using and creating information in an oral form. Digital literacy includes information technology skills related to using software to create, organize, use and communicate information, data and communication. Media literacy is a term of study in communication and media which refer to critical use of information and communication. Numeric literacy is related to manipulating and expressing numerical relationship. Text literacy refers to knowledge of text structure and methods of extracting, manipulating, critiquing and producing text. Visual literacy describes a set of skills related to image. Finally, academic literacies refer to critical thinking, database searching, knowledge with academic terms and ability to a range of academic genres. Now let's look at why information literacy needs in academic setting. According to research findings, most young people prefer shallow and superficial searching of short texts rather than full texts. Though students are competent users of information technology, they tend to be less competent in the search and use of curriculum-based information. As a result, they may be lack of critical thinking skills, decision-making skills and self-directed learning. Besides, people assumed mistakenly the basic skills in IT and information literacy. Turculit and Myatt states basic information technology skills include the use of computer to retrieve, access, store, produce, present and exchange information and to communicate and participate in collaborative networks via the Internet. Ladbrokes and Probert study shows, most teachers believed that a number of their students were better informed, faster and more skillful users of social networks, games, web pages and music sites. But they doubt on students about critique, synthesis and report research findings. These findings demand teachers to incorporate information literacy skills into teaching. Students will develop research skills and complete successful assignments which encourages thinking, clarify ideas and generate reasons. Burton and Chadwick studies mention that most writing assignments need use of resources beyond course books. Students should be given opportunities to identify authoritative sources, use information technology, practice critical thinking skills, analytical skills, write research papers with appropriate references, bibliographic styles and respect for intellectual property. In order to develop these skills, information literacy will enable students to practice independent learning that is the key part of student-centered environments. In this way, they could be encouraged to exploit information and create knowledge through various sources, rather than prescribed texts. In order to improve the skills of information literacy, a student or researcher may need to be able to tap into the existing information and knowledge effectively, to develop balanced answers to questions and new insights. Bunn suggests, teachers need to be prepared to teach information-seeking process to students in both print and electronic environments. Why? The information-literate people can help students to understand the content, to learn when, where and why to use information, to recognize the value of information, to develop adaptive expertise, to develop metacognitive about their learning, and to improve the ability to teach themselves. In this way, when learners become information literate, they tend to be active players in the learning process, rather than the recipients of transmitted knowledge. They will make conscious thinking and questioning on their learning. However, the development of World Wide Web looks like a double-edged sword concerning with information use. On the one hand, it has increased the awareness of information overload, tools, techniques to create, store and find information. On the other hand, it can make people believe that the information problems can be solved easily and they don't need to think about skills and knowledge of being informed. Besides, the use of search engines and web pages tend to emphasize only on information access rather than necessary thinking, before, during and after process of information search. So, schools need to encourage students about the relevance of information literacy to them and will resolve their problems if they engage fully. Turn to the approaches to learning. There are some learning approaches based on people's ways of studying. Hepworth and Walton categorized these approaches into three: deep learning, surface learning and strategic learning. Teachers need to identify their students' learning based on these approaches. Deep learning implies the intention to understand and seek meaning, leading to effort to relate concepts to existing experiences. Deep learners can distinguish between new ideas and existing knowledge. They critically evaluate and determine key theories and concepts. These learners are trying to achieve maximum meaning from their studies. Ramsden asserted, deep learning can make students understand materials effectively. It is related to critical thinking skills. In the surface learning, students intend to complete the current tasks and memorize its components. They can't make distinction between new knowledge and existing knowledge. They may think maximum learning has occurred, but in fact, they have made superficial learning. In this learning, they will learn facts outside the meaningful framework. As a result, they think that subjects consist of a large number of facts to be memorized. Ramsden mentioned that this kind of learning must be challenged by designing curriculum and assessment for the improvement of deep learning. Race has identified strategic learning as another way of learning. In strategic learning, motivation for success mainly focuses on product, which is related to surface learning to some extent. Students may intend to obtain high marks with pragmatic engagement with task. In the information age, while students experience information overload and tend to make superficial learning in an unconscious way, the deep learning could be able to reduce the problems of having much information. How the information literacy relates to the inquiry-based learning in the academic setting. Applying inquiry-based learning may improve information literacy skills. The definition of information literacy includes the ability to recognize an information need and to find, evaluate and make effective use of the needed information, and inquiry-based learning could be defined as a method which involves giving opportunity to improve skills related to critical thinking, analysis, reflection and evaluation. In some cases, though students have achieved high marks in their subjects, they seem to be lack of information literacy skills. Hepworth and Walton found that learning aimed for assessment and the practices of hierarchical and disciplined teaching discourage students to explore, find, compare, synthesize, criticize and apply information in different situations. They tend to be uncritical on sources of information. In order to fulfill these needs, inquiry-based learning seems to be relevant to teaching learning process. This learning engages students to investigate questions and real-life problems which are important to students. This method has roots in constructivism, in which learning is an active process and knowledge is related to learners' experiences of the surrounding environments. Constructivist theory holds that individual gains knowledge by his perception of his acts on objects and events. If inquiry-based learning is employed appropriately to students, they will find enjoyment on learning. There is recognition that inquiry-based learning is an important method to realize the subject domain, develop knowledge about learning how to learn and independent learning skills. Thus inquiry-based learning becomes one of the useful methods which can promote skills of information literacy in academic setting. Hutchings states that in inquiry-based learning, students have to make own decisions about appropriate ways of approaching the issues. They need to reflect what is already known about an issue, carry out investigations to respond appropriately to issues. This learning method implies the ownership of students because the process is student-centered and they need to take initiatives, propose ways of inquiry and continue them thoughtfully. This will result in intellectual and social capabilities such as critical thinking, reflection, teamwork, independence, and they will become information literates. Information literacy standards for students learning. There are 9 standards of information literacy which can be categorized into information literacy standards, independent learning standards and social responsibility standards. Information literacy standards. Firstly, the information literate student accesses information efficiently and effectively, and he recognizes information need. Then, the information literate student evaluates information critically and competently. As a third standard, this student uses information accurately and creatively. Then, independent learning standards. The independent learner is the information literate and continues studying information related to personal interests. This kind of student cares the appreciation of literature and creative expression of information. Finally, the independent learner affords for excellence in seeking information and generating knowledge. Social responsibility standards. The socially responsible information literate student recognizes the importance of information to a democratic society. Then, this student practices ethical behavior in regard to information and information technology. Finally, this kind of student participates effectively in group to pursue and generate information. In conclusion, students who possess information literacy skills may be able to solve the problems of information overload in the 21st century, because they will consume knowledge critically and effectively. Besides, the deep learning and inquiry-based learning will support students to develop information literacy because of their reflective thinking and evaluation on their acts on objects and events.